And welcome to today's workshop where we will discuss internationalization and the COI framework. My name is Anna Abley, and I will be your guide throughout this presentation. All right, well, first, welcome. Please get ready for the presentation by removing any distractions. Silence and put away your phone. Make sure you're in a quiet area. And be prepared to use a microphone or a headset so that you can participate in the meeting. If you're joining us later, please just have something to write with, whether it's a word processor or pen and paper. There will be some reflection opportunities for you to join in as well. We're going to do a quick quality check. This is very similar to last time. So if you would like to keep your camera on, that is up to you. But for now, go ahead and keep your microphone on mute. You will get some chances here to speak in just a moment, but we'll go ahead and talk about that in a second. If you can hear me speaking right now, great. If not, please send me a message in the chat, and then we can troubleshoot together. And after you've completed your quality check, go ahead, send me a thumbs up. And if you forget where that is, it's down either at the bottom or top of your screen where there's a little emoji. So perfect. Rebecca is ready to go. Anne's ready to go. Awesome. Moving on. This is just a quick refresher. So I think we should be good to use the annotation tools, but today we're going to basically use the draw feature with the pen. I'm going to assign you guys a color if that would be great. Yes, approve. Rebecca, why don't you go ahead and do blue? And then you can draw a circle in that box when you're ready to go. And Anne, I know last time we had an issue with the annotations. So if you have the same issue, just send me a message in the chat box and we'll do what we did last time too. So I see Rebecca's blue circle. Yay. Awesome. Oh, and then Anne, if you do have the pen, why don't you go ahead and do purple? Purple circle. Awesome. All right. So I will go ahead and take care of your answers. And you can just go ahead, when we have some other questions, you can just go ahead and type your answers. Usually it'll just be like a letter answer in the chat. All right. Let's talk a little bit about our learning objectives for today. So we're going to discuss primarily how international and intercultural learning factors affect the COI framework. And then we're going to discuss some specific recommendations for planning for a diverse group of learners. All right, so I want to get to know you a little bit better. Can you tell me about some of your experiences with online learning scenarios, specifically with international students? So either were you the international student, like did you ever study abroad, or have you taken online courses with students from other countries, or even if you haven't taken online courses, have you had students from other countries in your courses? When you're ready, you can go ahead and click that raise hand feature, and when I call on you, you can go ahead and unmute and give us your answer. Oh, perfect. Anne's ready to go. Go ahead, Anne. You can unmute.
Hi, so I have done both. So I did a study abroad program several years ago to Scotland because our college has sister colleges there. And so we went to two different universities and did like a work study program with them. And then as an instructor, I've had international students in my classes.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
And Rebecca, did you want to share or did you want to just stay in the chat feature? You just said you have not had any, so that's fine.
I have not had any experiences where I have either studied abroad or have had someone studying abroad come, to the US. So I have no experience with it. So
Okay, great. Thank you for sharing. And I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. Yeah, I have not taken any online courses to my knowledge with students from other countries, but I have taken some classes in person. I took a summer class one year and there were several people from Pakistan. Like it was a whole bunch of people from one place, which was kind of interesting. And so that was a really unique experience for me because it was like when I was reading chapter 8 here, it was like, yes, it made me think of this class because I felt like a lot of these things, I saw some of these things happening. So it just was really interesting. I wanted to know more about your guys' experiences. So thanks for sharing. All right, so the reason we're talking about this is because as the popularity of online learning opportunities increases, it's also becoming increasingly common that international students are going to be taking online courses. So in America, that might mean students from other countries, but even in other countries, that means students from all over coming together and taking online courses. So this kind of brings up a big question. With differences in culture and background, how can online instructors address the needs of a diverse group of students and set them up for success? And the answer to that is internationalization. So in the textbook, Knight describes this as the process of integrating international and intercultural influences into post-secondary learning opportunities. So basically, it's just about creating courses that have those influences in mind. So just a quick understanding check here. Which answer best describes the definition of internationalization? A, studying abroad for the purpose of learning. B, the process of designing courses with international and intercultural influences in mind. C, designing a course that teaches students about a variety of different cultures. Or D, inviting a foreign exchange student to your school. Go ahead and use your draw tool to circle that, and Anne, you can send the answer in the chat. And if you're joining us later, just go ahead, pause the video, and write your answer. All right. Anne says B. Let's see. And Rebecca says B. And yay, you were correct. The correct answer was B, the process of designing courses with international and intercultural influences in mind. Great. All right, so when we're discussing some international factors here, instructors are tasked with designing courses that have to take multiple viewpoints into consideration. And such examples of that would be like political beliefs, religious beliefs. And this is true even in settings where everybody's from the same country or from the same culture, because there's always going to be differences in viewpoint. And this can be difficult to account for, but it is not impossible. However, with students in international settings, there are some specific things to watch out for. Specifically, they might experience more language barriers in the class. They may feel the effects of discrimination or xenophobia, or they might feel singled out during discussions. And so that can bring some very negative feelings towards the learning environment. So I want you to think about a time, even if you were not the international student, but just those feelings of like isolation, being left out of a social group. Was there ever a time in a course where you experienced those feelings? And if so, how did it impact your learning? And if not, how would you imagine that it would? You can go ahead and type a short answer in the chat box. I did put the reflection question in the chat earlier, so you can always reference back to that. You don't have to answer it right now. It'll be there for you at the end. And if you're joining us virtually, you can go ahead and pause the video and write your answer. I'll give you just a second to do that. Oh, Anne, thank you for responding so quickly. Yes, it diverted your attention from learning and how you felt so out of place. Yes, absolutely. I had a very similar experience, just where it was like everybody who knew each other had taken the same class, and then I was the person who hadn't taken that class. And then when you try to get into that social group, it's kind of hard. And Rebecca, same thing. You felt isolation during COVID. I agree. All right, so we're going to move on to talk about some specific recommendations for all of the three presences in the COI framework when it comes to internationalization. So first we have the teaching presence. When we're dealing with international learning settings, it's really important that the instructors prepare materials that are accessible to everyone, regardless of background. So one of the things that they really need to look out for is avoiding problems, especially in discussion responses, because instructors can't assume that everyone has the same understanding of appropriate or acceptable online behavior, because what might be acceptable in your culture or from your background might be considered rude or impolite in another. So you can avoid these problems with clear expectations. And when you are creating these clear expectations, you can be very explicit. You should be very explicit about what they are. So not only talking about what you should be talking about in the discussions, but also how you should be talking about it. So I gave you two examples here, and I want to just check which one you think is the better example of explicit instructions. So here we have letter A. So the directions are for this prompt. Answer the following prompt. How did 9/11 impact the relationship between the United States and the Middle East? The answer should be about 2 to 3 paragraphs long, and you should follow appropriate online etiquette when responding to two classmates. Versus B. Same prompt, but now it's do not include personal opinions, cite your work using APA formatting. You may use our class readings as source material and respond to two classmates, be respectful, and follow the guidelines listed in our discussion response rubric. So go ahead and circle which answer you think it is. And if you're joining us later, go ahead and answer. Yes, okay. We said letter B, both of you did, and that is the correct answer. So even though letter A had some detail there, letter B was definitely just more of an explicit direction. All right, let's talk a little bit about the social presence. So we previously learned that it takes intentional preparation to build strong levels of social presence in online courses, and the same goes for internationalized settings. So one of the ways that instructors can create better social group cohesion is by creating learning groups that are diverse. And by the instructor doing that, they can make sure that no student feels excluded or isolated. And that just creates a better sense of social presence overall. So which is the better example of enhancing social presence? A, the instructor creates groups of students that are diverse. They give clear expectations as to how the group should function. Or B, the instructor lets the students create their own groups and tells them that they must have a minimum of 4 group members. Go ahead and send your answer. All right, you both said A, correct, because letting students create their own groups just gives the opportunity for social isolation. Even if it's not intentional, people just tend to stick with people that they're familiar with or comfortable with. So yes, A is definitely a better choice. And now let's dive into the cognitive presence. So we have previously learned that students make the most meaning when they can relate their learning to their background and their real life issues. However, there are factors to take into consideration in internationalized settings. So one of the things that you really want to avoid is making students feel singled out. So really be mindful of asking students to make connections to their background, and doing so in a way that doesn't make them feel like they're representing or speaking on behalf of their culture or country. And so a lot of that just comes down to how we phrase questions or how we phrase responses. And you should still allow students to give or to have the opportunity to connect their learning to their background, but it's just a matter of, are you going to require it? And if a part of it is part of a discussion prompt, like you're asking them to reflect as a part of a discussion prompt, you should give clear expectations for how students respond, because you basically don't want to ask students to reflect and then make it so that when students respond, there's an opportunity there for people to feel attacked or singled out. So just another quick question, which is the better example of encouraging self-reflection? So A, define the term microaggression as the prompt and reflect, have you experienced microaggressions? If so, how? Or B, same prompt, if you've experienced microaggressions at school, did it impact your ability to learn? This one's a little bit trickier because I feel like it's a little bit more nuanced. So it's okay if we have two different answers, but I'm just curious. Anne says B. Okay. And Rebecca says B. Yeah, so that was what I had intended as the better example. I don't think that prompt A is a bad example, but I do think that it opens up the opportunity for you're asking students to explain the microaggressions that they've experienced, which may be a touchy subject for some of them. So I just think B is phrased a little bit better. All right, so we have discussed considerations for all three presences at this point when we're dealing with internationalized learning settings. And is there a common theme among them? And I would say yes. Intentional preparation is behind all of the three things we talked about, whether it was creating groups, how we set up discussion responses, et cetera, et cetera. So intentional preparation is needed to enhance all three presences. And we're going to explore this concept a little bit with a mini case study. So we have a few directions here. The prompt is you are going to be creating a policy for online discussion posts with what we've discussed in mind. There are some sample statements that are available for you to sort through and create a strong example of clear expectations versus a weaker example of expectations. And I want you to think specifically about what explicit instructions look like, because again, it's going to be kind of nuanced. There's going to be a lot of similar answers. I will send the URL to you. I actually already did in the chat, so you can go ahead and pull that up if you'd like, but I will also send it to you once you're in the session. That one you will have to copy and paste into a web browser. You may both access the slides at the same time, or you could designate one person to access it and share their screen. It's totally up to you. However, turn on your microphones to discuss your answers and reasoning, so you both are working on this at the same time. This is a click and drag activity. There are statements at the bottom of the screen, and you will sort them into two categories, the strong category and the weaker category. There are 12 total statements, and each category should have 6 by the end. So you'll kind of have to determine which 6 you want in each category. You'll have 4 minutes to complete the activity, and if you finish early, you may reach back out to me, and we can discuss the answers at that time. So if you ever need me during this breakout session, if you go to your chat feature, there is a button that says Ask for Help, and then I will come into the session and help where I can. If you're ready earlier than the 4 minutes, you can also ask for help and say, hey, we're done, and I'll bring you right back in. But I'll go ahead and set my timer. The virtual audience, if you're joining us later, as soon as they're in their breakout session, I will give you your directions on the next slide. And so here we go. All right. I'm going to go ahead and move Anne and Rebecca into our breakout session. And as soon as you guys are in there, I will resend that URL for you to use, and I will start my 4-minute timer. All right, good luck. All right, virtual audience, thank you so much for being patient. This is the same case study that they are completing in the breakout session, but I just went ahead and gave you all 12 options for you. So you can go ahead and create your own examples here. You can make your own little table of strong example and weak example, and just go ahead and write which one you think goes where. And we'll go over the answers after the breakout session has concluded. All right, time flies when you're having fun. Let's go ahead. Give me a thumbs up if you see the Google file that I have pulled up. Do you see it shared? A thumbs up, perfect. Okay, so let's go over your answers. So yeah, it was really quick. 4 minutes goes very, very quickly. But I see you guys have some great answers. Let's go through. The ones that I had in the strong category, I had use good grammar and don't use text messaging shortcuts, and use spell check if needed. So some of these were pulled from specific online course syllabi that I found online, so from different universities. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll move some of these around. But yes, be professional and appropriate in your response. You guys had be respectful, do not engage in personal attacks or insults, participate in the discussion by responding to at least 2 classmates every week. Don't use all the capital letters as this may be considered shouting, and be sensitive to differences. And yes, I just saw, Rebecca, that you said we didn't get all through it, and that is totally okay. I know it's fast. It was fast, so it was a lot of time. Yeah, but you guys got a majority of the ones that that we talked about. So if one of you wanted to raise your hand and maybe talk about your reasonings for some of it, like what was it like to go through this? Like, was it easy for you? Was it difficult to go through? Just out of curiosity. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Yeah, we tried to sort these based on, just how specific they were. I think that when you are dealing with different cultures, you need to be as specific as possible, kind of like the example with the capital letters. Like,
Yes.
why can't I use a capital letter? Well,
Mm-hmm.
because it could be like if you use all of them, it could be confused as you're screaming at somebody. And,
Correct.
that could be, I mean, that's aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Or, even like like, like the being sensitive to differences and being
Mm-hmm.
specific, like their culture, their background,
Mm-hmm.
their religion, their political beliefs. Like it's specific. It's not just be respectful to differences. So
Right,
we just tried to
exactly.
categorize based on specificness and
Mm-hmm.
explicitness.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you want to chime in at all about how you felt it went?
Sorry, I was trying to unmute.
That's okay.
Um, I thought that we were really in sync with a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the examples, especially in the sense of which one was more specific
Mm-hmm.
and which one was more generic. So,
Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, you guys had a lot of them in the right categories. And like you said, part of it was a time issue, which is totally fine. Um, but the only things I switched around were the don't be too formal or stiff, respond like you would to a friend. And that one was more just like kind of with the judgment call, because you can't assume that everybody has the same judgment when it comes to responding to people. Um, and then the use good grammar, that one was just kind of more of a being specific about don't use text messaging shortcuts kind of a thing. So yeah, I'm going to leave these so you guys still have access to that document. So you guys can still have access to these specific answers. But we're going to go ahead and move on. And I got to get my stuff pulled back up here and get our screen shared again. And there's going to be another reflection opportunity. So while I'm getting that pulled up, I'll go ahead and just read that to you. So your second reflection is, what is the benefit of explicitly teaching students in online courses how to engage in discussions? And how does this benefit international learning settings? There's that. So just in quick review, with the rise of online learning, people all over the world can access courses anywhere at any time. This can lead to diverse groups of online students. So basically, instructors need to plan for all. They need to keep in mind the various factors that can affect students in international settings, and many problems can be avoided with clear expectations. I'm going to go ahead and put the review quiz here, and we're going to go ahead and go over the answers at the end since we are running short on time. So I will go ahead and put those, I'll launch the poll for you here. And you can go ahead and answer those. Should be active now. It's just a short 4-question review quiz about what we talked about, some of the things we talked about, and then how it each affects the teaching presence, social presence, and cognitive presence. For each question, more than one answer could apply. So just go ahead and click whatever you think. If you're joining us virtually, you can use that QR code or go to slido.com and type in the number and the passcode. And while you're finishing that up, like I said, we'll do the debrief afterwards. We're going to go ahead and conclude today because internationalization is the process of designing courses with international and intercultural influences in mind. Intentional design choices means it's more accessible for all. I thank you so much for attending this web conference. My name is Anna Abely, and like I said, I will stick around afterwards so that we can answer any questions and go over those answers. And I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop recording now.